Go into the world and tell every man that you meet, there is a man on the cross.
A Catholic Take. What you need to know right now. A bold synthesis of inspiration and information. Keeping you up to date on the news and issues from a courageous Catholic perspective.
A Catholic Take with Joe McClane starts now.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McClane. Praise be to God. It's good to be on with you. And right around the corner, we're days away from Halloween now, and we need to debunk the fake history that you've been told about the pagan origins of Halloween. We're going to do that today with Charles Fraune, who's got a new book out, Exorcising Halloween, a guide to sanctifying the season. He's going to be on the team at 30 past the hour. By the way, tomorrow, Father Rock is going to be on from Ask a Priest Live to talk about how best to celebrate it from a Catholic perspective. So you're going to have a couple of days here of great Halloween content to help you debunk all of those crazy stories your friends, your colleagues, your siblings, they're all trying to tell you, the Catholic Church, they just, they hung out with pagans and they corrupted the whole darn thing. That's not true. That doesn't mean there aren't big problems. And we're going to get into some of the big problems with Charles Fraune at 30 past the hour. I also want to remind you of Jimmy Lai. You might have forgotten all about Jimmy Lai. Jimmy Lai is one of those Catholic heroes that's withering away in a solitary confinement cell in China because he was a hero. He decided to give up the billionaire life and become a hero, an amazing man. And we have seemingly forgotten about him. So I want to share this article from the New Daily Compass with you, why campaign for Jimmy Lai's release. And we should be campaigning for Jimmy Lai's release. Do you have any influence of the Trump administration? Why not put a phone call in today and say, hey, we need to get Jimmy Lai out of prison. What do you say? We're going to cover that at 14 past the hour. And we'll put all the links to the show notes for you up at the top of the hour at thestationofthecross.com/ACT. Additionally, we have our after show where we take your comments, your chance to tell me what you think about whatever that we're talking about on the show. You can do that on the live chat and the feeds, which you can find linked up at thestationofthecross.com, which, by the way, you can also find the podcast of the show. Do you subscribe to this podcast? Have you left us a review? It would be amazing if you did. We have the show notes there, the email sign up, which gets you access to the private Telegram group and other benefits, all right on the homepage at thestationofthecross.com/ACT. Let's pray. Let's get started. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thine intercession was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly unto thee, O Virgin of Virgins, my mother. To thee do I come, before thee I stand sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. And now your saint of the day.
Saints Simon and Jude, pray for us. Simon is often referred as a zealot, in part to distinguish him from St. Peter, and also to acknowledge his zeal for Jewish law before he was called an apostle. At one time, he was also confused with St. Simeon, brother of St. James the Lesser, and the second bishop of Jerusalem. After Pentecost, Simon preached in Egypt and elsewhere in North Africa before he made his way to Persia, where he met St. Jude. Simon was eventually martyred in Persia, with most accounts relating that he was sawn into pieces. Jude is also known as Thaddeus, to distinguish him from the traitor Judas. He was another brother of St. James the Lesser, and thus cousin to our Lord himself. After the Ascension, Jude wrote one of the canonical epistles, famously quoting from the Book of Enoch, and he preached in Mesopotamia before meeting his martyrdom with Simon in Persia. He is generally depicted with a club as the instrument of his death. Simon is a patron of tanners, while Jude is famously a patron of hopeless causes. Like Saints Philip and James, Simon and Jude share a feast day in the West due to their relics having been venerated together in Rome. Saints Simon and Jude, pray for us.
And now your headline news. Breitbart reports Trump urges Democrats to reopen the government, pressing for a clean funding bill. President Trump again demanded that Democrats pass a clean continuing resolution to end the government shutdown, blaming them for holding up pay of federal workers. He argues no policy writers should be attached and that people just want to get paid. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and his caucus continue to resist the proposal, raising the legislative impasse. And LifeSite News is asking the question, is the influence of the Southern Poverty Law Center and Anti-Defamation League finally continuing or coming to an end? Earlier this month, FBI Director Kash Patel announced that the Bureau is cutting ties with the SPLC, calling it a partisan smear machine. Article notes that major tech firms like Alphabet and Meta have also distanced themselves from the SPLC's controversial hate map. And LifeSite says that the move could mark a major turning point in the decline of the SPLC and ADL's influence over government and corporate America. Let's pray that's true. And Catholic Vote reports Virginia school district suspends whistleblower teacher. Virginia's Fairfax County public school system has placed on paid administrative leave the high school teacher who blew the whistle on school staff members, allegedly enabling a minor student's abortion back in 2021. Without parental consent, by the way. And those are your headline news. The gospel today comes to us from Luke chapter 6, verses 12 through 16. And it came to pass in those days that he went out into a mountain to pray, and he passed the whole night in the prayer of God. And when day was come, he called unto him his disciples, and he chose 12 of them, whom he also named apostles: Simon, whom he surnamed Peter, and Andrew his brother, James and John, Philip and Bartholomew, Matthew and Thomas, James the son of Alphaeus, and Simon, who was called the Zealot, and Jude, the brother of James, and Judas Iscariot, who was the traitor. The gospel of the Lord. Laus tibi Christi. The great commentary of Cornelius a Lapide said, he went out into a mountain to pray and continued all night in prayer to God, communing with God in prayer, asking the Father that he might choose for the ministry men fitted to be apostles, and who would obtain for them an abundance of spiritual grace to enable them to fulfill the duties of their office, and also that he might teach us to pray in like manner. Golly gee willikers, did Jesus not know that Judas would betray him when he chose him as one of the men fitted for the ministry? Did he not know that Peter would deny him 3 times at one of the most critical moments in his earthly ministry? He would abandon him, in fact. Did he not know these things? The answer, of course, is yes. Jesus is God. He is truth incarnate. He is the very word spoken by God the Father. So absolutely he knew, and he chose anyway, which means he chose that for a reason. And that reason is something of a bit of a lesson for the rest of us to endure, I would say. And I'm speaking to myself, maybe not you, because you're the model of patience. I, however, have no patience whatsoever. So maybe I should be a wee bit more long enduring as our Lord is. It goes on, so the church at Embertide enjoins her children to fast and to pray, that fitting persons may be chosen for the work of the ministry, and that those admitted to any holy function may be filled with grace and heavenly benediction, for as with the priest, so with the people. When a chief pastor is zealous and God-fearing, he is a blessing and a strength to his diocese. But if he be an evil liver or slothful, he becomes a stumbling block and offense to believers. In like manner also, a good priest makes a good parish, but an evil one is for the destruction to his people. Figuratively, Christ teaches us to pray in the night season that we may be the better able in silence and solitude to collect our thoughts and lift our hearts unto God, that we may be preserved from terror, by night, and from the pestilence that walketh in darkness, and also that by our prayers during the night we may obtain spiritual graces to the profit of our fellow men during the ensuing day. The Ignatius Catholic Study Bible would say apostles, those who will preach the gospel and lead the early church. They are emissaries invested with Christ's royal and priestly authority. The 12 apostles, like the 12 patriarchs of Israel, Jesus chooses 12 men to be the father figures of the renewed kingdom of Israel, the church. 12 men. And as St. John Paul II would say, the church has no right whatsoever to ever change that. Jesus chose 12 men. That is the way it is. That is his will. That is the way it ought to be. Father Haydock would say, this power which Jesus Christ delegated to his apostles, and which was for the benefit and regulation of the universal church in all future ages, the apostles in their turn delegated to their successors in the ministry with such regulations and limitations as have been judged in the Holy Ghost necessary for the proper government of the spiritual kingdom of God upon earth. And it is the height of presumption to question any ordinations that come to us with the authority of the Catholic Church. For whatever the church says is true, whatever she permits is lawful, whatever she forbids is evil, whatever she ordains is holy, whatever she institutes is good. Close quote, so says St. Augustine. And yet we must endure the Judases and the betrayers in the ranks of the successors of the apostles, even down to this day. Just because there is a Judas does not mean we forsake it all. We must embrace. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Tired of your phone bill supporting who knows what? iCatholic Mobile is a 5G provider that supports what matters to you. With iCatholic Mobile, every call, text, and even that group chat you can't escape helps support the Station of the Cross. It's a network that connects you to what's good for both your soul and your wallet. More information is available at iCatholicMobile.com. iCatholic Mobile underwrites with the Station of the Cross.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McClane. So good to be on with you. Praise be to God. Coming up at 30 past the hour, Charles Fraune is going to be on the team. He's got a new book, Exorcising Halloween, a guide to sanctifying the season. We want to debunk the false narrative that you've been told, and your friends keep saying it, and your coworkers keep saying it, probably your siblings too, that, Halloween is just pagan in origin. The Catholic Church compromised so much by incorporating these pagan ideals into All Saints Day, All Souls Day. And that's actually a lie. It's actually not true. So we're going to get into it with Charles Fraune at 30 past the hour, the true history of Halloween, coming up in just a little while. But I want to talk about a man whom you might have forgotten all about. Maybe you never even knew him to begin with. His name is Jimmy Lai, and he's incredibly important for Catholics, especially in China. This guy was an incredibly wealthy man, a very successful man. He went from poverty to billions. I mean, this guy had it all, could have walked away, lived a very comfortable life, but he chose instead to give up that comfort, that safety net of his money and his riches to speak the truth in the face of evil, and is withering away in prison right now. Before I read this article, which gives us an update on his situation out of the New Daily Compass, which I'm going to link to in the show notes, of course, I would love for you to be hanging out with us over at thestationofthecross.com/ACT, where you can get the show notes, join the email list, and so much more. Get our podcast, all of it right there. Before I do that, though, I want to play a trailer from The Hong Konger, which came out 3 years ago, that really beautifully summarizes the backstory, which you need to know. So have a listen to this.
The future, which is unknown and uncertain, is still unknown for me, but is certain.
Freedom was a very short journey for me.
He came as basically a refugee from China when he was a teenager.
I was put in the bottom of the fishing trunk, and by the afternoon, we arrived in Hong Kong. And the same night, I was taken to a factory to work as a worker. What we eat and sleep in the factory.
He was so poor, not highly educated.
It was a very happy time. It was a time that I know I had a future.
For a Chinese, that's like going from Kansas in black and white to Oz, where everything seems like it's possible.
As long as you wanted to work, you could make it in Hong Kong.
But British gave us all the institutions of freedom. Freedom of speech, rule of law, property rights, freedom of assembly, and let our resourcefulness flourish.
They went from an incredibly poor city to a metropolis.
So I started a very small factory.
He's a classic entrepreneur.
And then I went into retailing.
Giordano was this huge brand.
If I just go on making money, it doesn't mean anything to me. If I go into the media business, I deliver choice, and choice is freedom.
Apple Daily played a very important role in Hong Kong's pro-democracy movement.
We've never had a territory of 7.5 million people who have lived and breathed their basic freedom, having that taken away from them.
Hong Konger means determination, fearlessness, the belief in human rights.
Mr. Lai insisted on marching in front where the authorities could see him.
I've been arrested 3 times.
The Hong Kong police raided the Apple Daily compound.
It's very likely that, I will have to go to prison.
He chose to stay in Hong Kong.
Their house is firebombed.
All I had, this place gave me.
I watched this man willingly give up the life of a billionaire to become a dissident.
This is a time for sacrifice. Even if they kill me, I will have to fight to the last day.
He's probably the most famous newspaperman now jailed in the world.
I earned freedom, my life.
Jimmy Lai. What a man. What a Catholic man. Praise be to God in all things. I've interviewed one of the people featured in that film. I was one of his close assistants. I interviewed him a few years back. It's an incredible story, the story of Jimmy Lai. Hong Kong, which was ruled by England for a long time, then turned it over to China. China waited just a few years and then basically incorporated it into the communist system, and that changed everything for Hong Kong. It's all been downhill from there. Cardinal Zen went to his trial, by the way. But I want to read this article to you because I think it gives us an update on his situation and why we should be praying for Jimmy Lai. And if we have any influence whatsoever in the Trump administration, we should apply that to try to put pressure so that they will seek his release. The article says, at the annual Busla Daily Compass Conference, Sebastian Lai, Jimmy's son, gave a moving testimony appealing to Western governments to put pressure on the Chinese authorities to release his father. It was also an opportunity to understand the roots of the true freedom, an issue that concerns everybody. Freeing Jimmy Lai is now a humanitarian issue, and I hope international pressure will convince the Chinese authorities to release him or expel him from Hong Kong. This appeal was made on Saturday, 25th of October, at the Daily Compass annual conference held in northern Italy. It was launched by Sebastian Lai, son of the famous Catholic entrepreneur and publisher who has been held in prison in Hong Kong for the last 5 years for defending freedom and democracy in the former British colony, returned to Chinese authority in 1997. I started in radio in 1997. I met my future wife in 1997. The Daily Compass, it goes on, has reported on Jimmy Lai's case several times over the years, including his latest trial for colluding with foreign powers, which ended in August and for which a verdict is pending. No one has any illusions it will be a guilty verdict, as Sebastian has told us. This would mean life imprisonment, a certain death sentence. Jimmy Lai will turn 78 in December. He suffers from diabetes, lives in solitary confinement in a windowless cell that heats up like an oven in summer. He is granted 45 minutes of fresh air every day in the cement prison courtyard. So one can imagine how much care and attention is paid to his health. Although U.S. President Donald Trump and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer have promised to demand his release, other governments, including Italy's, must also play their part, as must public opinion in Western countries. Thanks to the Daily Compass, which invited Sebastian Lai to Italy, all the most important national newspapers in Italy came to interview him and publicize the story of a man we consider a martyr for the truth. However, we cannot be satisfied until he is released from prison, even if that means he has to leave his homeland, Hong Kong. This is no small matter since, as we have always reported, Jimmy Lai wanted to stay in Hong Kong, even though he knew the cost was certain imprisonment. We spoke to Sebastian about this apparent contradiction to understand why his father would accept exile today when he could easily have left Hong Kong 5 years ago. We know from Jimmy Lai himself the basis for this decision to stay is, quote, if I left, I would not be only giving up my destiny, I would be giving up God. I would be giving up my religion. I would be giving up what I believe in. Things have changed a lot in those 5 years, replied Sebastian. Back then, my father felt responsible for all his journalists and for those who supported him in his fight for freedom. If he had left, he would have endangered them. They would have become the focus of the regime's attention. Today, however, the situation is very different. If Jimmy Lai were to leave Hong Kong, no one would be in danger as a result. Indeed, one must remember that in 2020, Hong Kong was still experiencing large-scale demonstrations in favor of the democracy. Jimmy Lai and his Apple Daily newspaper, which the authorities forcibly closed down in 2021, were a kind of lightning rod for the tens of thousands of demonstrators. I used to use that outlet all the time as my show prep for my morning program. And I was sad the day that they closed it down because that was, in my opinion, one of the only trustworthy sources for news and information on China itself. It was hard to trust anything else coming from the region. The article goes on, however, Sebastian Lai's participation in the Daily Compass conference highlights the crucial reason why we are particularly interested in his father. Jimmy Lai is not only a symbol of the fight for freedom and free journalism against power, he is certainly not alone. For example, on 24th of October in Vienna, Jimmy Lai was honored as one of the heroes of the free press alongside 6 other journalists from various countries. There is no shortage of heroes. People who sacrifice themselves for a noble cause are plentiful. However, Jimmy Lai's case is different. The difference is found in the motivation for the Made for Truth award that was instituted this year and awarded to him. From the moment of his conversion to the Catholic faith, his battle for democracy and freedom became a testament to the truth, even accepting imprisonment. This is a martyrdom that he accepted, knowing that freedom does not primarily lie in escaping totalitarian power, but in bearing witness to and being faithful to the truth. What would you have done if you were a billionaire? You were the man who started the worldwide clothing brand. You were the man who created Apple Daily with its millions of subscribers, and you made money hand over fist. You could easily have gotten on your private jet and flown out of there and lived a very comfortable life in the West. Would you have given all that up, knowing that you'd maybe spend the rest of your life in prison, as Jimmy has done? I'm not sure I would have. I'm not sure most of us would have. He goes on, in fact, what makes this figure so fascinating and exemplary is that Jimmy Lai testifies, however just they may be, that ideas only find their true dimension and consistency within a broader horizon that opens up to the eternal. He shows that courage is not the fruit of heroism for the few, but fidelity to the truth of oneself that anyone can embody, and that freedom is not simply a political objective, but the outcome of belonging to Christ. Sebastian explained this in his testimony during the conference, which will be available on their YouTube channel, how these years in prison had made his father's relationship with God more intense and profound through prayer, reading the catechism, and the lives of the saints. For Jimmy Lai, the battle for freedom and democracy, which began as gratitude for what had what he had received in Hong Kong after fleeing communist China as a child was transfigured into participation in the cross of Christ. It is no coincidence that the crucifix is the main theme of Jimmy Lai's drawings in prison, which, until he was stopped, he gifted to friends and supporters. It is also no coincidence that the crucifix is the subject of the ceramics by Rimini and the artist that constitute the Made for Truth prize that was awarded to it. Jimmy Lai has embraced his cross like so many saints gone before him. What an example. But if you and I have the ability to put pressure on the Trump administration, to put pressure on the communists to free him, should we not do that? Perhaps you can write to your congressman and maybe ask them to put in a good word for Jimmy Lai. I'm not sure what else we can do, but if we can do, we ought to do. So maybe you can pray about that today. There is an action item for all of us to help Jimmy Lai, who is such a model of sanctity and sainthood. We're going to come up after this break. We're going to talk about the fake pagan history of Halloween. Don't go anywhere. We're back in 2. Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McClane, and here are your headline news. Fox News reports Cuomo closes gap on Mamdani as New York City mayor race tightens dramatically in a new poll. The latest poll from Quinnipiac University shows Zohran Mamdani holding a 44% lead among likely voters in New York City mayoral race, with former Governor Andrew Cuomo close behind at 34%. Cuomo gained momentum after the endorsement of Mayor Eric Adams, who is on his way out. And also, Curtis Silva, the Republican candidate with only 11%, might swing his support towards Cuomo, which could make a difference in the upcoming election. New York, you're so desperate, you're voting for Cuomo. Let that sink in. Breitbart reports real estate agents are generating AI slop videos of homes filled with bizarre errors. A growing number of real estate agents are using AI-generated walkthrough videos to market homes instead of filming real estate video footage. But many of these clips contain glaring inaccuracies like missing rooms, distorted dimensions, or entirely fabricated features. The trend has been dubbed AI slop, raising new ethical and legal concerns about misleading marketing practices. Industry analysts warn that buyers could be deceived if federal and state regulators don't step in to set clear standards for AI-generated real estate media. Be warned and be on the lookout. Catholic Vote reports Trump floats Vance Rubio 2028 ticket. President Donald Trump hinted yesterday that Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio could be his preferred successors when his term is up in 2028. Trump praised both men as potential leaders and suggested Vance Rubio would make a formidable Republican ticket. What say you? Let me know in the comment box. And those are your headline news. Praise be to God in all things. There is a brand new book out. We're going to link to it in the show notes from slayingdragonspress.com. Exercising Halloween, a guide to sanctifying the season by Charles Fraune. Charles joins us this morning. Good morning to you, Charles. Thank you for your time.
Yes, good morning. Good to be back. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being on with us today. Let's talk about Halloween. Let's talk about fake pagan history, because everybody, your coworkers, your cousins, your siblings, your friends, everybody seems to think that Halloween's history was based out of paganism, and the Catholic Church just enculturated it to try to get these people to be converts. What's the real history?
Yeah. So for the book, I was able to interview a few more exorcists. Thanks be to God, because the work I do, I'm connected to a small number of them at least. But one of them said to me, "What do you know about the Druids?" And I'm like, not too much. He goes, "No one does." So the history we have today is made up. It's fabricated. It's a reconstructionism. And I have this in my 2 occult books, The Rise of the Occult Among Us. One of the pagans whose videos I watched, he was admitting that, Wiccanism is part of the reconstructionism. It's fake. It's fake history. But he thought all religions had made up history. Like, that's kind of naive and just ditzy, really. But they admitted that it's made up. And if you look at the Druid history, we don't have any. We don't have any concrete details, because it was conquered by the Romans. first century, and most of the history was annihilated. The religious practices weren't even written down. So once the culture was destroyed, there wasn't anything passed on. And then you have solid history that the church established the Feast of All Saints on November 1st on her own, on her own. It had nothing to do with Samhain or Samhain, however you pronounce it. So it's a smear campaign. And I get into it, so we can cover this in some of the next questions, but I get into the origin of it, which I was not on my radar when I first started doing this research.
From my understanding, it was intentional amongst the pagan religion aspect of the barbarians, of Celtic peoples or whatever across Europe, to actually not write any religious information down, that it had to be passed orally down from one generation to the next. So there are no writings that scholars could go to pull out and to say, see, this is how they performed their rituals. This is when they did this, and this is when they did that. There's no books out there, are there?
Yeah, and then I think it may have been Tolkien. So I have a chapter in the book about the history of all this, and I have pulled in a lot of different historians. One of them said Druidism is a magic bag, and you can just pull anything out of it that you want. It doesn't even have to have real history or rationality. So it's this totally unreliable. One of the historians said it's a great burden for historians. Like, we just have nothing to go on, nothing concrete to go on. So they just fill in the gaps.
Why do you think mythology. Then? Why do you think there's such a fervency for continuing this myth? What is it? Just hatred for Christianity that there's a desperation here? Not unlike, New Yorkers pulling for Andrew Cuomo after they fired him as governor. Now they want him as mayor because they don't like the alternative. Is that kind of what's going on here? They just don't like Christianity, which is the alternative, and so they're pulling for this fake narrative of paganism.
Well, you could say there are two things. So that's a good point. In the collapse of Catholicism, which we've all witnessed in the last 60 years, the church is not evangelizing as she could and as she should. So you have all these moderns who are growing up in a materialistic, depraved culture seeking something spiritual. And I talk about this in my two occult books, The Rise of the Occult especially. A lot of people go into the occult because they're not being satisfied by what Christianity proposes itself to be. A lot of that is Protestantism, which is, of course, bankrupt to start with, so it's never going to be satisfying. So that's one issue. But in my research, prompted by a statement by one of the exorcists, and I did all this research, there was a campaign from the enemies of the church that the popes have highlighted for 300 years, and 400 years even, in particular Freemasonry. So one of the things, I think it was Pope Leo XIII, I can't remember which one exactly, it's in my book, said that Freemasonry is, among many things, trying to destroy the church completely. But they're trying to bring back the manners and bring back paganism. For after 18 centuries of paganism being conquered by the church, as the Pope said, Freemasonry is trying to bring it back. So you have this campaign of Freemasonry to destroy the church, corrupt the morals of the culture to destroy the church's influence, and bring back paganism. And then you see a connection between all of the modern occultic groups that we have on the stage now, a connection between them and Freemasons. So that fact, that loomed large in my research, and that was not on my radar when I first got started.
Isn't that interesting? So that's something I've talked to Joshua Charles from Eternal Christendom. He and I had a great conversation a few years ago. It was a part of my documentary film on the end times. And he is an expert in the early church fathers. And he talked about the early church fathers would talk about the end times would be marked by the rise of paganism again in culture. And so we're definitely seeing that. My wife grew up in Peabody, Massachusetts, which is right next door to Salem, Massachusetts. And she, to this day, never wants to be anywhere near Salem, Massachusetts in October. She says it's really, really that bad. The occult, so in reality, it's not their holiday. It's a Catholic holiday. But they certainly hasn't stopped them from trying to, kidnap the holiday and make it theirs, because the occult goes all out at this time of season, don't they?
Yeah, I haven't finished this aspect of the research, and maybe for a later book or a later article, but the market, the commerce in this country especially, rivals, it still pales in comparison to Christmas, but it rivals Christmas. It's like second to Christmas. Halloween decorations, when people start putting them up, how much they spend on it. Driving around this year, I'm like, wow, like this is even worse than last year. like progressively year to year, the amount of money people spend on decorations, toys, costumes, anything and everything. It's this big outlandish thing. It's pulling in the adults. Some exorcists have warned that it's pulling in adults now. And that's when the occult combo can really become dangerous, because cults feel like it's a day that doesn't count. It's kind of like Vegas. If we don't talk about what we do on Halloween, it doesn't matter. But then exorcists are cleaning up the mess the next day. They've mentioned this specifically. But yeah, they're really claiming it as their day. And this is another connection that I made. The Feast of All Saints began on May 13th in the 7th century, if I remember the exact number right now. May 13th. So that's interesting. That's the Feast of Our Lady of Fatima, the first apparition there. But it was it started with the consecration, the exorcism and consecration of the Pantheon, the temple to all the pagan gods. The church was given it, and then she took it over spiritually. And there were manifestations of these demons as they were being cast out. Now, if you look at what's happened, so they moved it to November 1st. And now, perhaps towards the end of all things, we have the occult, the demons going after that feast day. It's like it's revenge. And you combine that with what the popes have warned about Freemasonry. It all looks orchestrated. And you have global powers, the push for widespread global apostasy. It's really kind of a daunting age to live in.
I think there's a lot of Catholics today who are sort of weary or tired of all of that. And so they've really pushed back on Halloween and almost resent it. They've stopped practicing or celebrating it in any way, shape, or form. But like, where is the line there then? I guess that's one of my big questions is, where is the line between like celebrating it in this sort of secular pagan way versus celebrating it in a Catholic way? Where do you find the line?
Yeah, that is kind of an indicator of how deep the spiritual problems are in the culture, because it's so convoluted. It's so messy. So many of the customs have been hijacked so thoroughly, so deeply. And so many modern Catholics, their intellects have been hijacked by a secular culture so deeply, so thoroughly, that the discernment quality, the discernment ability of modern Catholics is almost non-existent. So when it gets to Halloween, there are some, the ones who are more traditionally inclined and actually take up the church's traditional spiritual practices. Like there's a keen awareness there, that spirit of deception that God has predicted would come towards the end, which I think is probably already here. We can cut through it by reliance on the church, and then we can help discern what we're supposed to do. But it is very, very messy. So what we have to do, which I set out to do in the book, is re-envision Halloween. Like, what is Halloween? What is it supposed to be? It's part of this little triduum of feast days, the beginning of a sacred month dedicated to the souls in purgatory. If we go back to the origin, to the liturgical practices, the liturgical readings, the prayers, the emphasis, and see what it's supposed to be, then the customs, I think, will settle themselves. If we take it seriously, we'll realize, well, there is a tradition of dressing up like demons to kind of mock them, the whole mocking of the devil. You dress up like the devil to say, you have no power. I don't care about you. But I think nowadays it might be a little bit hard to pull off because the devil is everywhere and the occult is rising. So I don't really recommend doing the mocking costumes. I think it's a little bit, we're scarred. There's a vulnerability there. But just rediscover the sacredness. I mean, the souls in purgatory. Like I said, I think it will answer, if we realize what Halloween is supposed to be, a lot of the questions we currently have will disappear. And we'll know what we're supposed to do. And that's what I try to do in this book.
As a parent, I got to say, I have scaled back tremendously over the years, just because of the secular nature of it all and the ghoulish nature of it all. And I just didn't feel very comfortable as a parent letting my kids sort of participate in that. So we've looked for other opportunities, All Saints parties, trunk or treats, or whatever, things of that kind. But what would you recommend to parents who are struggling with this? You got about a minute before break.
Yeah, I think we've never done trick-or-treating. The divine providence has worked out. The neighborhoods we've been in have been very quiet, so we haven't had to worry about it. So the kids have not grown up with the whole trick-or-treating custom. And it's like, well, that's a joyful thing. It's a fun thing, but it's so pointless. Like nowadays, it doesn't have anything to do with Halloween or with the true sacred nature. So we've been emphasizing soul cakes. We have a gathering with other Catholic families at a cemetery nearby on All Souls Day. We try to have a bonfire, do some things like that on on All Hallows Eve, some things to make it sacred. It's tough, though. We're still building it year to year. That's why I wrote a book, because every year I'm like, how do we do this? What are we supposed to do with Halloween? I haven't had the answer for like 15 years. But yeah, do the sacred, have some, celebrate the saints, focus on All Souls, soul cakes, focus on the saints, dress up like saints, gather with families, have all saint parties with your parishes. And those things, I think, are a great way to kick it off.
All right, I want to follow up on that coming up in 2 minutes. We're talking to Charles Fraune. The book is called Exercising Halloween, A Guide to Sanctifying the Season. We're going to link to it in the show notes for you today. But you can find it, slayingdragonspress.com is the website where you can find it. We'll link to it as well. So where are you at on Halloween? I'd like to know in the com boxes whether or not you celebrate it. You dress up as vampires and zombies, I don't know, all the ghoulish stuff, or do you focus on the saints? Do you do the parodies of the devil? Any of that stuff? Let me know in the com box where you're at on Halloween. I know it's a split decision, and there's a lot of parents that are just like not up for it because it seems so dark and so diabolical. More in 2 minutes with Charles. Don't go anywhere. Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McClane. Praise be to God. It's good to be on with you. We're talking about Halloween. We have been talking about the fake pagan history of the holiday with Charles Fraune and his new book, Exercising Halloween, A Guide to Sanctifying the Season, which you can find at slayingdragonspress.com. We'll put a link to it in the show notes as well. Charles, welcome back to the show. I was just thinking over the break, probably the most diabolical costume I have ever worn as a kid was probably when I dressed up as Fidel Castro, because, he murdered a lot of people and really punished the Catholic Church in Cuba. And it's still in prison today, So I didn't know it at the time, but definitely looking back, probably the most diabolical costume, most dark and dreary costume I've ever worn was as Fidel Castro. The ninja costumes were all the rage in the 80s. We had all of those great ninja movies back then. Mm-hmm. American Ninja, Shogosuke, Turtles. The actor. I mean, there's so many good times about being a ninja. So kids like to dress up as ninja. But again, I want to ask where the line is, because can they dress up as zombies? Can they dress up as Dracula? Can they dress up as, I don't know, you name it, because we still see it all the time. Is it okay for Catholic children to dress in those types of costumes?
Yeah, I think the line issue is where some of the big debates are happening right now, even between, very devout Catholics about what we should do. So I think we have to, if we first remember what the purpose of the feast is. So first, dressing up like saints, even dressing up like someone that would represent a soul from purgatory. I'm not sure how you do that. Even like a ghost, as long as it's a friendly ghost, though friendly ghosts now is a cultural term which usually refer to demons. But let's say you dress up like a pirate or, some kind of superhero, Superman. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But then, what's the connection to the feast day? What's the connection to the point? Because this is one thing we have to remember, so that we don't hide in our basement. This is too much. This is overwhelming. I don't want anything to do with Halloween. This is the eve of a solemnity, one of the few holy days of obligation in the church's liturgical calendar, at least the ones that have survived now to this day. So we don't want to hide. We don't want to shuffle off. We don't want to just merge with a secular celebration of it. So if you're going to dress up like Superman, what's the point? Is he a representative of a saint? Is he representative of some moral virtue? Well, maybe you could highlight that. What about a pirate? What about, somebody from a kid's movie that's a benign character? What's the point? You're going to go back to what's the point? Then the ghoulish thing. Well, why are you dressing up like a demon? Why are you dressing up like some scary creature? Are you trying to scare away the demons? Well, that's superstitious, that we don't believe the demons are wandering around. Are you trying to mock the devil? Well, very few people actually do that now. So good for you if you are, but make that clear. So the intent is very important with the signs that we're demonstrating, because the culture has really messed things up. And I think that's our fault. That's the church's fault. As priests will tell me, the church has just dropped the ball in catechizing the culture and catechizing Catholics. So everything's just this big muddled mess. So I'd say first is dress like something good, benign, good, ideally something sacred. If you're going to dress up like something scary, what's the point? What's your intention there? Because a lot of people don't have the right intention if they did that.
one of the reasons why I don't love horror movies, and part of the reason why I'm not the biggest Halloween fan is just because I think it subtly shifts our understanding of what death is, or what dying is, or like, remember that you are mortal and you will die someday. My wife puts a skull out on our altar in our chapel here at the house. I mean, it's just to remind us that we will die someday, and that I think this is a good and holy Catholic thing to do. But I think in the horror genre, like everything now, it used to be back in my day. Charles, you're young, I'm old. Back in my day, you'd only get horror movies at Halloween time. Now you get them all year long. They're always coming out, and 99.9% of them are possession films. It's ridiculous. It's really, really ridiculous. But I think that the horror films have always served a way to sort of subtly suggest to the viewer that you never ever want to die, because golly gee whiz, dying is horrible and it's just bad things happen and it's just all hell all the time. Rather than say, remember you're going to die, live a good and holy, virtuous life, die in a state of grace, and you have the beatific vision. So I think they've been lying to us subtly, and maybe not so subtly, over these many generations. And I think Halloween plays a role in that. The ghouls, the zombies, the vampires, all of this stuff. It just seems to remind, like being afraid of a cemetery. Why are we afraid of the cemetery? Why are we afraid of death? Why are we afraid of the dead so much? We should be praying for the dead. We should be interceding on behalf of those in purgatory. It seems contrary to the Catholic ideal.
Yeah, and you mentioned a lot of good stuff there. So in my 2 occult books, The Rise of the Occult Among Us, well, I have a whole chapter, I can't remember which book it is, on horror movies, where I interviewed all these former occultists and priests and exorcists. Like, what about horror movies? And they said the same thing you. Like, it used to be that horror movies had a clear good versus evil line. And usually the evil ones, the bad kids were the ones being attacked. And if it was something preternatural, the church would come in, the church would be victorious. But it's been corrupted over the decades to now it's like the evil ones are the good ones. And the church is mocked. The occult is the solution. More witchcraft, more spells is how you get out of things. But also, like you said, death. Like, this is a season where we reflect on the meaning of death. The 4 last things. Christ the King traditionally comes right before All Saints. I talk about that in my book. And the move, I don't think was a good idea to move that feast day. But death, the culture has perverted death. And you said something that was an early inspiration as I did the research. I was at a store as I was processing the book and doing the research for this book. And they'd already decorated, of course, for Halloween back in like September. But above the doors, there was this hideous graveyard scene. Like, the tombstones had creepy skulls. Like, it was kind of demonic. It was a demonic portrayal of death. Just like you said, when we left, we went down the road. Just 2 minutes down the road was this old 17th, 18th century cemetery with a nice little fenced area of some of the oldest tombstones. And it looked peaceful. I'm like, wow, the comparison of those 2 images was very profound, and it left a mark on my mind as I processed this book. This is we can't hide, like you were talking about earlier. We can't say this is too much and just give up on the culture. I have 2 chapters in this book on fear. The devil wants us to be afraid. He's targeting this great celebration of the triumph of Christ and the saints with fear. He's making us afraid of the feast day because of this big cultural occultic noise he's concocted around it. And he's winning. We're giving up. We're letting the culture just tear it down and tear it apart. And then as a result, we're not ready. We are scared of dying. Whereas people like St. Teresa of Avila said to one of her sisters, like, I've realized life is so short, we should be preparing for death rather than life. We should be getting ready only for our death rather than building any kind of life here, because that's the thing that matters. That's when we enter into our judgment and go to heaven, hell, or purgatory. And by the way, you don't want to go to purgatory. It's not a fun place, and it's long.
Yeah, exactly. And we need to pray for them, because if we should end up there, we would be desperate for prayers for us so that our time there would be short. And therein lies the rub. I mean, again, I think that the secular world around us is having a drastic impact. You mentioned just the seasons, like they start so early now. Like, that was never a thing. Now it's, we're as soon as Halloween ends, we're going to start seeing Thanksgiving, and then of course we're going to see Christmas, probably blurred in there as well. And it just becomes such a marketing consumerism that I'm tired of it. I'm weary of it. So last thoughts, Charles Fraune. how do you suggest, what would be your best advice to parents, to families to mark the holiday well?
Yeah, I have a whole chapter. I think it's the largest chapter in my book, one of the last ones, on solutions and suggestions for celebrating Halloween well. And there's a lot you can do. So just refocus. Bring out all your saint statues, bring out any relics you have, pray the litany of the saints, write down all the names of the deceased that you know, visit cemeteries, make it focused on the goodness of Christ, the power of grace, and the importance of the next life.
Go visit an old cemetery too. Read those tombstones. It's just really amazing what you read when you're in those places. Charles Fraune, really appreciate your time today. Thank you for getting up, being on the team today. Looking forward to the release of your book, Exercising Halloween, A Guide to Sanctifying the Season. You can find it at slayingdragonspress.com. We're going to put a link to it in the show notes as well. Check out his other books on the rise of the occult. It's really, really good stuff. Charles, God bless you. God love you. Have a great day. Coming up tomorrow on the team is Father Rock from Ask a Priest Live fame. We're going to be asking him from a priest perspective how to keep the holiday, and we'll see you there. God love you, or in the after show.
We're in the after show, Joe.
That's so funny. Kevin, good morning to you. Kevin in the Telegram group put a picture of a bucket, Halloween bucket on the porch, filled with packets that look like they're from MREs. And in the sign says, only just cheese spread, only one per Marine. Oh, man, that reminds me. We get our MREs and we would just start wheeling and dealing. We start trading items to try to get what we wanted, hoping that somebody would trade with us. Man, oh, man, my favorite thing to do with the MREs was always to make, field fudge. Mixing the cocoa with the peanut butter, sugar, and the coffee creamer. Oh, man. Just mix it all up and go to town. It's always so good. But that stuff would kill you, man. You better be drinking a gallon of water, because otherwise, it's going to be real ugly. Damon, good morning to you. Praise be to Jesus. Jane, good morning to you. Thanks for hanging out. Paul, our friend from Buffalo. James, 16897. The usual suspects are in the house. Eileen, good morning to you. Sci-Fi is here. Let's see. Can you imagine the custody battle over the Finger Lakes? What are we talking about? Are we talking about the battle of who's fighting over the Finger Lakes? Exactly. Are you talking about splitting up New York because New York City is? New York, you are so desperate not to have Mamdani that you're rooting for Cuomo. Do you not see that this is a symptom of a much bigger problem? Why not throw both of them out and get somebody reasonable in there?
New York City controls everything here.
What is wrong with you? New York City, you get everything you deserve. I'm sorry, but you do. You deserve a communist. You deserve one. Enjoy your communist. Take it all in. And you have made the prophecy of escape from New York a reality, because we are going to build a wall around it and keep you all in there.
And it would be beautiful. I can't do Trump. You do Trump.
It's going to be the greatest of walls.
That's it.
You've never seen a wall like this wall, okay? This is this is the most beautiful gold wall ever. It's a bigly wall. No, Jake does the best Trump ever. Teresa, good morning to you. Reformation Day. Yikes. Mary, good morning to you. Praise be to God. Glad to have you on the team. I'm still on the struggle bus. My infection is still around, even though I'm 5 days into my treatment. It's still a problem. I have a lisp because my jaw is still swollen. It's not nearly as bad as what it looked like on Friday, though. On Friday, my whole face blew up like a balloon. It was really, really rough. It was a difficult weekend. I'm supposed to go see a surgeon today. We'll see what happens, but struggle bus is real. I have to wake up every few hours and throughout the night to take meds. It's just been really, really rough, but God's will be done. And honestly, this tooth problem, this particular tooth, started probably 12 years ago. I was eating at a Mediterranean restaurant in the Woodlands, the Massey's. Great food. Haven't been there in years now. And I cracked the tooth while eating. Put a big old hole in it. That led to major pain, which eventually led, because I didn't have, there's no great dental coverage, and I didn't have insurance anyway, so I didn't have the money to buy, to spend on dentists. So I just sort of lived with it for a while, for as long as I could, and then got to the point where I couldn't live with it any longer. And then I got the root canal and the cap, and then now the root canals cause major problems. Root canals are not great. They tend to cause lots of problems, and here I am dealing with it. 3 years ago, I had a big issue with it. Went to go see my dentist. He's like, "You need to take it out." And I said, "We spent all that money putting it, capping it and such." He's like, "I know, but it's got to come out." I go, "But I spent all that money. I want my money's worth." Tried to hold on to it. And here I am. Here I am dealing with it still. It is part of the deal, I guess. So it's my fault. 12 years ago. Something like that. Anyway. So what's the moral of the story? Don't get root canals. Just don't get them. Just don't get them. Probably better not to have them. Or maybe brush your teeth more or floss. I hated flossing as a kid. Now here I am dealing with it. Michael, good morning to you.
Floss, Joe. You want to brush and then floss, then brush. That's what I do.
Is that how that's done?
I'm serious. Do that and floss. Try to get the front, not just in between. You want to be on the front too. I use the floss to clean the plaque off because the dentist says they can't get it away. That they can't take it off, but you can. You can get it off. And I haven't had a cavity in 25 years. I had all these cavities when I was little, and then I got braces, and they taught me how to do everything, floss, and that's it. That's my 2 cents.
Floss, brush, floss. That's a lot of work.
No. Brush, floss, brush, floss.
Brush, floss, brush. That's you're in the bathroom like 5 hours a day doing all that. Are you brushing 3? I'm
brushing other stuff.
Brushing, flossing, brushing 3 times a day? After every meal?
No. Morning and night.
Interesting. Wow. What did we do 200 years ago before root canals?
Carrots.
Existed? We just grinned and bared it. So that's what I tried to do. Just grin and bared it.
Fruits.
But there's nothing worse than mouth pain, man. Oh, my whole face was on fire Saturday night. It radiates from the jaw, and it just went up my side of my face, into my head, into my eye, and I wanted to smash my head against a wall so badly. I was just pacing all night long. It was so bad. Water pick. Should I get a water pick? You guys think I should buy a water pick? I don't know. Do water picks work? I brush vigorously. I do that, but probably not enough. Mary, full of grace, you are amazing. Praise be to God. Thanks for being on the team today. Morning and night is fine for brushing and flossing. Okay, there you go. So don't be a fanatic, Mike. Okay, Vito. Don't be a floss fanatic.
I had cavities.
Moderation.
Joe. I had 8 cavities as a kid. I don't have any more.
Now you got none.
I got nothing.
Now you just...
So I don't know. I'm not a
no
fanatic.
Pain for you. No pain for you. You're just not having any mouth pain. That's all. Roxanne, good morning to you. Root canals leave dead tissue in the mouth that can cause necrosis, and infection. That's exactly what I've got. Is the infection? I went to a holistic dentist in Houston to remove it. It's like bacteria. It's like a bacteria factory. Yep, pretty much. That's what I'm dealing with. That's exactly what I'm dealing with. Can producer Mike fix the spelling error in the title that drives alumni of Catholic schools up
Pagan?
the wall?
I did fix that. It was misspelled. Pagan? Is that what you're talking about? I fixed it.
Can I just tell you, Michael, that's part of the strategy of using misspelled words is it truly gets under your skin and it drives you mad a little bit, but it gets your attention.
You wrote Pagan, P-E-G-A-N. I think that's what you're talking about. I changed it halfway through the show.
You shouldn't. Oh. You're defeating the purpose.
I went to Catholic
school. It needs
school.
to remain an annoyance so it gets people's attention.
It got our attention.
These are the hacks, the attention hacks that we creators have to go through just to get you people to stop and pay attention sometimes. And the spelling police, boy, do they come out in droves. They just there's nothing more offensive than misspelling a word to some folk. Christine says, "Lol, Joel, your President Trump voice was really great. I stepped away and thought for a minute he was on your show. Could you imagine?" So can I just tell that I should do that we should do this. This is like old school radio. Back in my day, back in the 90s, the late 90s and early 2000s, that was a routine part of morning show shenanigans.
What was?
Is we would fake phone calls.
Oh.
We would fake phone guests. We'd have someone on by phone and it would all be fake. We'd fake the whole thing. We'd do celebrity impersonations or whatever, or the guest impersonation, and it would all, because there was no video in those days. So it would just be a phone and you would record it And a lot of times they would record them like that day, like while you're on the air, like you're going to a break. And in secular radio stations, of course, you got like a 10-minute commercial break, for crying out loud. These commercial breaks are insane, how long they are in secular stations. And then you would take phone calls and you'd record them on your breaks. And then you'd have them queued up because you were using reel-to-reels. You remember reel-to-reels, Mike?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I
so
did
you're
video.
old like me. You know,
2-inch tapes we used to have. TV,
oh, man.
TV than 1 inch, and they got smaller, 3/4.
We'd have to like cut them with the razor blade and tape them together and all that stuff. And so we would fake phone calls. So actually, I learned how to fake phone calls in radio broadcasting school in Oklahoma City, where I got out of the Marine Corps and I went to radio school. We'd fake phone calls. I should do a fake phone call with Donald Trump just for the fun of it.
That would be fun, Joe. We should do that.
That'd be a good
Although,
time.
Wouldn't they get on a case, like AI, trying to impersonate?
Probably.
It depends on what you talk. You got to have fun with it. Then I don't think they'd bother you.
Did they, nobody, everybody knew it was a joke. Everybody knew it was a gag. Everybody knew it was fake back in the 90s, the 2000s.
That was fun. Or they'd really call somebody. Some of the stations here would just really call someone out of the blue and they'd pretend to be somebody else. And
they do the gag calls. Remember the gag calls?
I don't think you could do that anymore.
I don't even, that was so rough to listen to.
It was so painful.
So painful. That it was the standard in secular radio that you would leverage the caller as the butt of your joke. Like, it's so uncharitable.
Very un-Catholic.
It really is not charitable at all. But man, they put out albums of these calls. Like, I forget the team that was, were they New York or Boston? I forget the morning show team that used to put out albums of all their gag calls. But like every year they'd have a new album out of all of their fake phone calls and all of their taking advantage of people, calling people up and putting them in ugly, bad situations. And
painful. I used to meet my friends when you're in high school. We used to take video cameras and like VHS on the shoulder cameras. And we'd hide and we'd go like the amusement parks. And one of friends would walk into garbage cans and have the garbage can go over and we'd record and people would come over. We thought it was so much fun, but it was really
I had a
imbecile.
I had a seasonal stint working for Six Flags out north of San Antonio. When I first got out of the Marine Corps, I needed a quick job. I went and worked there, and it was just it was like from Halloween to Christmas, which was a lot of fun actually. I enjoyed it. And one of the things I did was worked in the haunted house, and there was this tunnel. Part of the haunted house was this tunnel that was dark and creepy and smoky and filled with different objects and such. And I would put myself up against the wall like this, I'd blend into everything that was hanging on the wall. So I looked like just a decoration, and then people would get close and I'd jump scare them and they'd freak out.
Oh, that's awesome. We used to do spook houses and have the neighbors come over, and we'd have a buggy. So you'd sit in a baby buggy and you'd go through and you'd have to, the basement. Good times.
Oh, interesting. Yikes. That's creepy.
Yeah, it was fun.
Basements in
Fun.
the
Very
Northeast are creepy places.
Oh yeah.
Okay. They're not for the faint of heart, the basements in the Northeast, because they're old. Like a lot of the houses in New Hampshire were built in the 17 and 1800s. So they're really, really old and creepy looking, and there's all kinds of cobwebs and creatures down there.
You don't have basements in Texas, right? They don't.
You can't. The water table is the water table in the ground does not allow for basements. So it's no bueno.
No spook house.
So we just have creepy attics. That's all. Hey, Patty, good morning to you. Says a root canal or burst appendix. I was almost hoping to die, but I didn't. You talking about the burst appendix? Yeah, I bet that's bad. My wife had that as a girl. My daughter, oldest daughter, had that. That was not a fun situation. Some of the worst pain, some of the most intense pain I've ever had is one, mouth pain, incredibly intense, because it just pulls, the tooth will just throb and pulse. And it's never ending. But the sciatica pain was really, really intense. That was really, really bad. So that's probably some of the worst right there. My gallbladder was in a really bad way there for a while. So before I started the carnivore diet, I used to have a lot of problems with my gallbladder. So I'd have all-nighters just pacing back and forth. My gallbladder would just be in intense pain. And gout was also incredibly, incredibly painful. But I don't know. I'm just, I'm a wuss. What are you going to do? I'm sure giving birth to a baby naturally is probably like 10 times worse than anything that I've suffered from. But what do I know? I'm just a lump on a log. Hey, Darren, good morning to you. John Boy and Billy Bob and Tom, Steve and DC, etc. I used to listen to them all before I discovered the joy of Catholic radio. Talking about shock jocks? Man, oh man, shock jocks was the thing back in the day. Is it still a thing today? I don't even know. I don't ever listen to secular radio. I mean, I can't tell you the last time I've really listened to secular radio, like morning radio, but that was the thing. Like you would try to, have the craziest guests call in or whatever, and you really wanted crazy people to call you. You wanted crazy listeners to call you so that you can use them for your advantage, for fun, entertainment. It was just, it's blood sport, man. It's blood sport. Matt Foltz, good morning to you. Greta Bowman, good morning to you from Vero Beach. Glad to have you on the team today. Matt says, me and my brother still crack up to Roy DeMercer from Oklahoma. No kidding. Gwen, good morning. Nick the Mike, Robert DeBruce, James 1697, all on the Rumbles. Patty is here. Good morning. CC Stone, good morning to you. Angelique, Don Paddock, good morning. Junior Barr, welcome back from Denver. Hopefully you enjoyed your trip. Did you get some, did you guys go skiing, elk hunting? What'd you do in Denver? What's fun to do in Denver? I mean, is it elk hunting season yet there? Probably. I'm so jealous. I have nowhere to hunt yet. Mike, do you hunt, Mike?
No, but I got my permit before New York State made it impossible to like shoot anything. There was a time where you got the permit and then you got to do like 20 hours and you got to do shooting like course, which is all good stuff. You probably should have had that anyways, but so I got it. I just don't have a gun.
Oh man, that's terrible. There's another reason why New York is. I mean, I got led by communists.
I got things crawling all over my property, like the animals, all things I can shoot.
You need help with that?
Yeah, come on over.
I will travel.
Okay,
we'll shoot those things and then eat them. With my bad tooth, I will eat them. It'll be fun.
Well, you can eat meat, right? So that's good.
I barely. It's like, I got a tiny little pieces. Make sure it's on this side. It's terrible. Hey, Damon says, good morning. Decided to grow the beard back, eh? Well, my problem is my face blew up like a balloon and I didn't want to shave. And it's still swollen. It's hard to tell, but it's still very swollen right here. And I kind of don't want to shave until the swelling goes away. You hiked the Rocky Mountains, June. That sounds like a good time. Praise be to God. Did you see any animals, though? Did you see any elk? Any Rocky Mountain goat? Anything like that? Those goats are huge up there. Big. They're good eating, too. Same. Phoebe, good morning to you. I can't see YouTube's done the whole handle thing problem again. Like, why can't you give me back the plain names? All I got the handles, and it's just a little harder to tell who everybody is. Deborah, good morning to you. Praise be to God. Glad to see you on the team today. Rita, good morning to you from Tyler, Texas. Praise be to Jesus. Thank you for being on the team. Really appreciate you being here. Tyler, Texas, beautiful place in the world. Tyler is a nice town in Texas. Rolling hills, lots of green. Incredible Catholics live there. It's a great place. It's perfect because it's not unlike Buffalo. It's not as big as Buffalo, but Buffalo is the kind of town where you can kind of get in and out of with some ease. It's not like congested and crazy and hard to get in and out of. Tyler, Texas is even easier to get in and out of. So you can stay in the country and live that good quality life. But if you got to go to town, you got to go to town. It's 10, 15 minutes away. You're good. Do your Walmart thing or whatever you got to do. Get your groceries and then get out. Get away from it and get back to civilization. Get back to humanity out in the country. It's a nice place to live. Problem with Tyler, though, is it's also expensive. Texas, so expensive. PLS Truth. This is the only live show that is doing handles. But thank you for the show, Joe, Mike, and Jake. Is it a setting? If there's a setting that I can change, tell me where it's at because I've looked. I see no setting that gives me the option of looking at handles versus names. I'd prefer the names. Clayton, good morning to you. I had a root canal in the 80s, and it hasn't bothered me since. Well, I'm jealous because mine is definitely a problem. Douglas, unfortunately, Tyler went Novus Ordo. There is still the FSSP in Tyler, Texas, and they're building a brand new church. Praise be to Jesus. Our friends who were at our parish, who lived literally they lived just outside the parish grounds in the neighborhood just outside the parish. They moved to Tyler, bought property up there, and they built their house up there. And guess what? The FSSP is moving right in their own backyard again. So they're very, very fortunate. Mary Full of Grace. No other channels are showing handles. I don't know why. What's up with that? I don't understand it. The Rad Trad Dad Show from the Diocese of Kansas City and St. Joseph, ICKSP Parish. Yank that dirty bird out. What are we talking about? What exactly are we talking about? I don't like my tooth. Is that what you're referring to? Yeah, it's got to come out. We're going to go see a surgeon today. And I'm told that the bottom jaw is particularly dangerous. So I have to see a surgeon to get it removed. And he may anesthetize me. He may put me out to pull it. And I'm also told that I have to be concerned with the bone being taken out with it. It is super annoying. I will agree with you, Carrie. No wildlife, June? What in the world? How can you have no wildlife? You went to the Broncos-Cowboys game. Oh, that's a fun time. Praise be to God. Although, I got to tell you, I got stuck in a traffic jam in Denver. I never want to go back to Denver. It's not on my list at all, ever. I'll drive all the way around Denver. I don't ever want to go through it again. It was ridiculous. Like, I don't understand why we intentionally sit in traffic. Honestly, why would we do that? You will never get that time back in life. It is gone. I can't tell you how much time I have wasted sitting in traffic in a place like Houston, Texas. There is zero quality of life in it. Zero. Twice I've had to sit on the highway at a full stop for over an hour waiting for a life flight helicopter to land.
Good rosary time, though, Joe.
Oh, okay, Mr. Saint. Mr. Sanctity.
No. Oh, no.
Mr. Virtuous.
I struggle with prayer, man.
Good grief.
Gosh. I fall asleep often. Probably why I shouldn't pray when I drive.
I have no patience. That's my problem. I have zero patience. Damon says, Joe McClane, the Air Force is easier because we have Air Force One, ICBMs, and the best food. Easier than what? The Marine Corps? Everything is easier than the Marine Corps. I mean, like, of course the Air Force is easier. You run a mile total in your basic training. Like, that's cute. That's sweet. We run 3 miles on day one of basic training. So, yeah, I mean, everything is easier than the Marine Corps. That's for sure. You do have the best food, the best facilities, the best everything. I don't understand why we've decided to give the Air Force the best of everything, but we did. Some odd reason. There was somebody somewhere in the government said, you know what? We're going to give the Air Force, the airmen, they deserve it. Not the sailors, not the Marines, not the Army guys. No, it's got to be the Air Force. They get everything. It's like we're all jealous. We're all jealous of that sibling. You know how if you have siblings, like there's like that preferred child thing? The Air Force is the preferred child, and we resent that for sure. Deborah says, I sit in traffic waiting. Yeah, it's awful, but getting lots of rosaries in. Deborah says, I ran 1.5 miles, my friend, U.S. Air Force, 1983. You ran a mile and a half. Wow, that's cute. That's sweet. That's so precious. Mile and a half. Wow. You must have been proud. That's so good. Did you get pictures? I'm just like, you document that day? Like a whole mile and a half. That's very nice. Gregory says the Navy gets the gravy, but the Army gets the beans. Yay and amen. Mary, good morning, says you cannot change the live chat to display channel names instead of handles, as YouTube is rolling out this change to all chats to use unique identifiers. Well, that's annoying because it makes it harder to recognize you, because obviously our handles are kind of crazy. Catholic.heart88 just had 2 fillings yesterday. Love my dentist. Is your dentist Catholic? Mine's Catholic. Great Catholic guy. Wonderful. He's a permanent deacon in the Anglican Ordinariate. Great man. Dr. Nellis. Wonderful man. He's been very good to my family. Back in the day when I first cracked this tooth 12 some odd years ago, he was very generous to us. We, when you work 501c3 radio broadcasting, money is really not around. So he was very generous to us back in those days to do gratis work for us, which was amazing. And he's seen our kids too. PLS Truth, good morning to you. D3 Studio 007. Now that's a name. That's a name. By the way, that reminds me, I need to ask you guys, okay, I need help. I've written a treatment. I am very motivated to try my hand at filming a concept short film, live action narrative. It's to prove the concept of my series on the end times, on the church 3 days prior to the Antichrist. So it's a wee bit of like a prequel or a backstory kind of thing. And it's a short film. I've written it all down. I have it all worked out as far as it goes. It's basically 3 scenes. But I'm really struggling with trying to characterize my villain, the Antichrist. And the way I'm trying to do it is I want to offer whoever acts in that role, like I want to characterize it for them so that they can go and start to work it out for themselves, how they would portray this person, this Antichrist. And so I was looking at like the best villains. Who do you think? Who are your favorite movie villains of all time? Could be James Bond villains, could be other villains. I specifically looked at James Bond villains over the past weekend because a component of the Antichrist is going to be the mastermind. And almost all of James Bond villains are all mastermind villains, right? They are the guys who have worked out the destruction of the world or the takeover of whatever. So I looked at James Bond villains, and the James Bond villain I liked the most was Le Chiffre from Casino Royale. Jack Palance, Doug says. Hans Gruber. I knew there was going to be a diehard in there. Dr. No. You think of Dr. No. Hans Gruber's good. I like Hans Gruber. I like Hans Gruber from Die Hard. That'd be a good one. June says traffic is worse than San Antonio. It is way worse than San Antonio. San Antonio has gotten really bad over the years. I mean, it wasn't nearly as bad when I lived there as a kid. But I have been caught on Loop 410 too many times. It's just not worth it. Life is too short. Damon says, Roxy says the Antichrist may arise from Islam. I think the Antichrist is going to rise from Judaism. Why do I believe that? Because Saint Jerome, writing back in the early 4th century in his commentary on the book of Daniel, that's what he says. As many of the church fathers say, this Antichrist will come from Judaism. He will be the fake and false Messiah that they will accept, that Jesus refers to, that another will come and you'll accept him, but me, you don't. That is a reference to the Antichrist. And so he could come from Islam, I suppose, but or I could characterize him that way, but I intend to characterize him as though he's rising from Judaism. So will he or will he not sound like the current Bibi Netanyahu? I don't know. He might. That's a distinctive accent, don't you think? Tim Hiddleston says, Stephen, very Jaguar worthy. Vincent Price, says Caroline. Damon says, I'm asking for prayers for my ex-wife, Lucinda, for our Blessed Mother, undoer of knots, to intercede and soften her heart. Yea and amen. We'll be praying for that. Be assured of that. I'll be praying for your intentions. I do offer your intentions in our family rosary at night, by the way. So you're welcome to send them to me, but I will be praying for you. Put the link for the book. The book, I just found my version on Amazon. Just Google St. Jerome commentary on the book of Daniel. You will definitely find it. It's good stuff, by the way. Highly recommend it. The blonde Catholic guy that played in Walking Tall. Forget his name. Oh, yeah. What's his name? I know exactly who you're talking about. He's the one who doesn't kiss actresses on screen. He did some Angel Studios films most recently. He did the rodeo thing. Is his most recent film. He was also in the Captain America films. First Captain America film. He was the character. He was the guy who wore the bowler hat. Remember that? What is his name? His name is going to come to me. I tried to interview him once, but of course, Neil McDonough. Thank you, Roxy. Thank you. Neil McDonough. I tried to interview Neil. I tried to reach out to him, but I mean, when you're so low on the totem pole as I am, they don't even respond to you. Christine OFS, yep, Joe. A Jewish shyness, most likely. Exactly. That's how you get the third temple. That's your limit to the villains. So the question, I think I was trying to cross, because he's got to be, the way I envision the Antichrist is he's got to be politically savvy. He's got to be like a Bibi Netanyahu, right? Politically savvy. He's got to be a mastermind kind of a character, bad guy, right? But he's also got to be personable. He also has to be able to throw personality into it. Mix that up with charism. He's got to be able to win people over, right? It's a combination of all these characters. So that's why I'm looking for different names to throw into a pot that you can then hand off to an actor and say, think of this, Woody Harrelson. I can't see the Antichrist as like when you say Woody Harrelson, I'm thinking of Woody from Cheers. That's not quite the gravitas that I'm like. From where are you thinking of Woody Harrelson? Like, when did he play the ultimate bad guy? Neil was a bad guy on Yellowstone. Yeah, Neil plays a good bad guy. Like, you need someone who can cut through with a knife to your soul, right? With words and a look. What about Al Pacino in what was the movie that he played the devil in? What was that one called? Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden. Do you think Hunter Biden is the mastermind? I don't think Hunter Biden's the mastermind. His dad was the mastermind before the fall of his intellect. Philip Seymour Hoffman in Mission Impossible 3. That could be a good choice. Javier Bardem. That could also be a good choice. Barack Obama is a good choice. Here's to you, Joseph. Barack Obama could be a good choice. The Devil's Advocate. That's right, Douglas. That's right. TNGRRL73. I'm sorry, I don't have names anymore. YouTube, go back to the names. YouTube, here's the deal. YouTube, I know you're paying attention, because who obviously wouldn't pay attention to me? The next Holy Roman Emperor. Here's the deal. Show and display the name so that it's readable. But if I wanted to know what their handle is, I can click on the name and reveal the handle. How about that? It's a winner for everyone. We all get to win in that case. Liam Neeson. When did Liam Neeson play a bad guy? Tennessee Girl. Of course. Yes. I'm sorry. The handle there is throwing me. Obama is so cringe. It's true. Pacino and the Devil's Advocate. Tradish Mom, good morning to you. KZ2, good morning to you. Hans Lander from Inglourious Bastards. He was good because he didn't see himself as a bad guy. Matt Foltz. That's a great point. You make a great point there, Matt. You need a bad guy who is so evilly wicked but thinks himself good. And just like the potential of terror. Like, there's a potentiality that there's a tension on screen that's just hanging there, that's subtle. You're looking for that. You just you can't quite put your finger on it. Because I want I'm letting you guys know all the secrets, obviously, but hopefully the audience who watches this thing, if it ever gets produced, I don't want them to, I don't want it to be super obvious. Like, I'm not going to say, oh, by the way, this guy is the Antichrist. Like, that would be too obvious. It needs to become more of a slow reveal. And there just always needs to be something about the guy that is not right. And you don't feel right about him. Something isn't right with this guy. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something there. You want to feel that. And of course, he is, because the story begins 3 days prior to his ascension on the world stage. So that's where this short film exists, on the cusp of these 3 days. And so it's kind of like a mix between Jack Bauer and 24, and the episodic, rollout of Jack Reacher on Prime Video. It's like that kind of genre, kind of feel. I want that gritty action-like feel to it with the characters that I've drawn up. And so, Greasy Gavin Newsom. Oh, I could totally see the smile and the hair of Gavin Newsom on the Antichrist. I could absolutely see that. Low key. Is Low Key Tennessee Girl? Is that like, is you talking about Low Key, like the actual Marvel superhero? Is that like as a bad guy? John Travolta. I don't know. Is John Travolta, Darren, is he a good bad guy? I don't know. He's always a bit, is he campy? Like, what was the best bad guy role John Travolta ever played? Was it with Christian Slater in the whole B-2 bomber movie? What was that one called? That one? Or was it Face Off? Or was it, what other one was he in that he played a bad guy? I forget. Deborah says, Joe, you are right. The Antichrist will just slither right in. He will. I mean, how do you get there? Tom Cruise? Has Tom Cruise ever played a bad guy role? What has Tom Cruise played as a bad guy? I'm thinking. My mind is trying to think right now. Joaquin Phoenix would be brilliant. Kill Bill. Silverfish. John Travolta. Jared Kushner as a bad guy. I love that one. That's great. Jared Kushner for the win. Oh, he has no personality. He's got the personality of a cardboard. You know, it's like we need personality. He's got to be personable. He's got to be somebody you might actually like, but can't figure out what you don't like about him. More like Pulp Fiction. I never saw John Travolta's character in Pulp Fiction as a bad guy. Yeah, he did bad things, but I never saw him personally as a bad guy. They were bad. They were men they were amoral men who killed amoral people. That's the way I saw Pulp Fiction. Am I wrong about that? Kayla the Mechanic says John Travolta in Swordfish was his best role. Okay. I might have to go back and look at that one. That came out like 87,000 years ago, so I can't really remember. Real life for Tom Cruise. Real life. Now you're on to something. The real life Tom Cruise is actually more bad guy than you think. Carrie Zukwowski? Zukwowski? I don't know how to say that. I'm sorry.
Joe,
Carrie,
looked it up. Vincent in Collateral. I've never seen that, but Tom Cruise plays a cold, methodical human who forces a cab driver to drive him around in Los Angeles on a night of assassinations.
Oh, I have
2004,
seen that.
I never saw it, but I just...
You know what's interesting about that film? Collateral. The movie's called Collateral, right?
Yeah, it's Collateral, 2004.
Here's the fascinating thing about that movie. That was the first Hollywood movie ever to be filmed on a digital camera.
Wow.
Major Hollywood film on digital. First one. And it has a green tint to it. I mean, think about how far digital cameras have come since then. I mean, pretty far. That was the first one. So that first gen digital camera, not good, not great. You can imagine how expensive it was. But I do remember now, he did play the bad guy in that film. I totally forgotten that. Jamie Lee Fox, right? Was it Jamie Lee Fox?
I don't know. I didn't see it. I just looked it up.
It was pretty good.
I mean, it was Minority Report, but he wasn't really a bad guy. He just was kind of a character who was
he wasn't
in the system. He's in the system, you know?
Yeah, there's a new film that's very Minority Report-like that's coming out now with a major actor. What's the film? It's kind of like you have to prove your innocence. I just saw the trailer now. It's escaping me. Don't get old. That's the answer to this. Shylock. Who's Shylock, James? Barry O. Don't know. I don't know who that is. Michelle Obama. Gregory, we already mentioned Barack. Aren't they the same? I'm just curious. Thought so. Was it Broken Arrow with Travolta? I liked Broken Arrow. I liked Christian Slater back in those days. That was a fun film. Probably not his best, though. Swordfish probably was better. Tom Cruise as Scientologist, Mary says. Exactly. Raise your hand. Have you ever heard former Scientologists who've left Scientology talk about Scientology and Tom Cruise? There's the whole genre of podcasts that exist just because of it. There's tons of former Scientologists that are spilling the beans on all of it. And it's very interesting to say the least. Gary Oldman as Dracula, brilliant choice, Douglas. Gary Oldman has got to be one of the greatest actors. If he's not he's top 3 easy, right? Daniel Day-Lewis is always like bubbling at the top. Gary Oldman, I would say, is bubbling at the top. Who would be number 3? Greatest actor of all time. I don't know. I hate to admit it, but I think Leonardo DiCaprio is a fantastic actor. He just has like weird political, but don't they all? They all have like weird political opinions. But Leah Remini, yeah, she's done it. But there's been a bunch of others, people you've never heard of. They're not stars. They're not famous people. They're just people who've walked away from Scientology. And boy, do they ever tell stories. Arnold Schwarzenegger, maybe you can get an iceberg blast on set. You got to get back to the chopper.
It's not a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
I don't know what that came from.
Arnold, whatever happened? I mean, come on, Arnold. I think the Minority Report movie is Mercy with, oh, thank you. That's totally true. TKOT Tradish. Thanks for filling in on that one. Chris Pratt and a new movie called Mercy. It's very Minority Report-ish. Like I got vibes of Minority Report. Like you can kind of smell Minority Report wafting in on that one when I watched the trailer. So very interesting. How many people like Chris Pratt as an actor? I kind of like Chris Pratt as an actor. I enjoy watching his movies. Denzel. How did I not think of Denzel a minute ago as one of the greatest actors of all time? I love Denzel Washington as an actor. There's nothing that Denzel plays in that I don't think is amazing. Literally. Everything he's in. I mean, the guy is 70 years old and he still plays the Equalizer. And you believe it. You still believe it. Like the last Equalizer he was in, he was still like 70 or 69 or 70 or something like that when he played the role. And it still was believable. Are you kidding me? I have a toothache and I'm like crying like a baby. Denzel is flipping and punching and kicking and, doing his Equalizer thing. And it's just mind-boggling. The guy is incredible. Val Kilmer in Tombstone and Batman. Killer looks, but was actually a screwed up dude. Val Kilmer was an incredibly talented actor. God rest his soul. His role in The Doors was like phenomenal. Like he sold that. He totally sold that. Denz is great, says Deborah. He is truly great. Catholic film triumph over evil playing October 30th. By the way, that's the Exorcist film. Yeah, I could have gotten an interview on that one. But I am still trying to get an interview with the guy behind the most recent Saint-Max Colbay film. We're hoping to have him on. We're going to see. We're trying to get him on the calendar. Also, I have an Hollywood actor, Matt Marsden, who was also a pop singer, by the way. He was in films like Black Hawk Down. He was also in the Rambo 4. You might remember Rambo after decades made Rambo 4. He was in that. And we're going to get him on the team to talk about artificial intelligence in Hollywood. See what he says about that. Christine says Jim Caviezel is younger than Denzel by 15 years. He could be the resurrection probably. Okay, can I just tell you? If I had Mike Bottino kind of cash lying around, it would take it. It would totally take it. You'd have to have Vito kind of money. We're talking mob.
I got VHS.
Mob boss money.
I still got my VHS recorder, Joe.
Yeah. If I had that kind of money, Jim Caviezel would play my Antichrist, 100%. And you know what? I have to believe Jim would want to play that role. Why? Because it would be so difficult and so challenging, so counterintuitive. For the guy who played Jesus probably better than anybody will ever play him.
That would be a struggle. It's like when you do debate club. In debate club, they'd make you like defend abortion. I mean, it made you better at arguing against abortion, but that's psychologically.
And he would be perfect. Yeah, he would be perfect because my Antichrist is not a young man. He's a seasoned man. He's a mature man. So there we go. So I only need, I don't know what Jim gets paid. I don't know, $10 million. I only need $10 million. That's all I need. That's it. And we got Jim on the team. Could you imagine? Instead, I'm going to get somebody from church to play the role because I've got no money. I'm just very, very interested in trying to go through the process and seeing if I can't make it as interesting and believable as possible on no money. That's my challenge to myself. Can I prove the concept? And if you can prove the concept with a short film, then you raise the money to develop it professionally, and you hire professionals to do the job. Then, right? Like use it as a pitch piece to say, here's the idea. Here's the concept. Now, with money, we hire professional screenwriters, actors, cinematographers, and editors, and all the rest. You bring in the pros, and you make it actual, and very, very good and entertaining, and all of that. That's kind of the idea. Could you imagine, though, getting a Jim Caviezel on the team? One of my favorite Jim Caviezel movies is a movie he played in after he starred in The Passion of the Christ. Part of the reason why Mel goes to Italy is because there's sort of an Italian film industry there that he plugs into. There's professionals and actors, and just all of the support infrastructure is there for filmmaking, as well as very interesting backdrops, ancient towns that look really, really old, things like that. It was very helpful, and that's why he's gone back there. That same crew, that same infrastructure, right after they made The Passion of the Christ, they made a different film. It was on, I forget the name of it now, but it was about like a concentration camp, a communist concentration camp that Jim's character played in. And he and this little boy were in this camp together. Spoiler alert, Jim dies, the boy escapes and heads towards the unknown. And the movie is about the journey of following this kid. But Jim Caviezel's character sort of is his invisible friend the whole time. It's very, very interesting. A lot of the actors, like the guy who played Pontius Pilate was in it. The guy who played St. Peter was in it. Like a lot of the actors who were in The Passion were in this as well, because they're all part of that same infrastructure. It was great. One of my favorite films of all. I just forget the name of it, of Jim Caviezel's films. Kevin says you could probably get your sister-in-law for you. Who's your sister-in-law? Who's the sister-in-law? The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. You've been watching too many Ghostbusters. That's your problem right there. I am Sam. I am David. I am David. Thank you. That's exactly it. That's the movie. I Am David. I Am David is the name of the film that I'm thinking about. The concentration camp with Jim Caviezel. You should watch it. It's great. Very good. I watched it with my kids. The word in Greek is not anti, but subio. Not sure what we're talking about there. Did the stream stop? I don't know. It's possible that Mike is like cut us off.
Like it stopped, Joe. I don't know why. I can restart it.
Oh, is it really over?
It just stopped.
Bye.
Facebook is still there.
No, we're still live on the YouTubes.
Okay,
we're still live on YouTube. I don't know if we're live on Rumbles. I can't tell. No, we're not live on Rumble anymore.
We're still live on YouTube.
Really? We're still live on YouTube's though. See, YouTube, how special you are. You get to continue to be live. At least that's the way it seems. But nobody's chatting right now, so maybe it glitched. Oh, you are still here. Cat Cans, good morning to you. Thanks for being on the team today. Sci-Fi says, yeah, there was a political battle between Palpatine and the Council. Palpatine. That's a good bad guy. But Palpatine was always curmudgeon. He was always like, no. Like, that's not the Antichrist that's going to convince the world to apostatize. Right? We need he's got to be more slick. He's got to be the Gavin Newsom combined with La Chifre from the James Bond film. My head doesn't want to work. Combined with maybe Tom Cruise. Not sure. You blame Mace Windu. Why is it Mace Windu's fault? Mace was an unwitting agent for the dark side. How is Mace Windu an unwitting agent for the dark side? He fought Palpatine, for crying out loud. I think he was being manipulated like occultists who think that they can control the spirit world, but are actually its pawns. Yeah, Rumble stopped, man. I'm sorry. Qui-Gon Jinn. That's the thing about, how do you get Qui-Gon Jinn for what? Half a movie? That's ridiculous. You hire Liam Neeson for half a movie? Who remembers when Steven Seagal was an executive decision and died in the first act? Who remembers that? Tell me when you watched that, you weren't like, wait, did they just kill their star actor in the first act of the film? Who does these things? That's exactly what I thought when they killed off Qui-Gon Jinn. Absolutely bonkers. Although generally I have liked Liam Neeson. Charlize Theron and Keanu Reeves and The Devil's Advocate. We were talking about that earlier. Giancarlo Esposito, villain in the Breaking Bad and The Mandalorian. Interesting. I don't know. The other option is, okay, so I have several characters in the film, and I'm not going to give all of the spoilers away, but I have an Antichrist. We talked about that. I also have, amongst the other characters, I have a young kind of naive. Let's just say he's not naive, but naive adjacent. And it's only mostly because of his youth and inexperience. That's the kind of the idea for the character. Think Jack Ryan, right? Jack Ryan. Who remembers Jack Ryan? Who's your favorite Jack Ryan, by the way? Is it Indiana Jones? Is it Han Solo, Harrison Ford? Jack Ryan? Is it what's his name? The wife of the husband of Mary Poppins? Is that your favorite Jack Ryan, or was it who else played Jack Ryan? What's his name? The guy who played
the guy in the Office. You already said that guy. The guy from the Office.
Yeah, that's the husband of Mary Poppins.
Oh, that's the Poppins guy.
What's his name again? I forget his name. No, what's the other guy? The other guy who did the remake of the Star Treks. I can't think of anybody's names today. It's ridiculous. I should be taken out to pasture and shot. He played in Jack Ryan. I forgot all about Alec Baldwin. I would say I liked Alec Baldwin as Jack Ryan. That was your favorite, Caleb Mechanic? I think I'm on your team.
Oh, Chris Pine?
Chris Pine, thank you. He also played Jack Ryan. But I want to say Alec Baldwin was one of my faves. I did also very much like Harrison Ford in those films. I enjoyed those films quite a bit. They were very good. But Hunt for Red October, the ultimate classic. But Chris Pine, I like Chris Pine as an actor. He's a little bit creepy for me, though, generally speaking. So I don't know that he plays the sort of the innocent Boy Scout, naive, adjacent Jack Ryan as good as the others do. I definitely think the others play him better. John Krasinski. I think John in the Prime series, I thought he did a very good job, though. John was best, says Loki, as the best Jack Ryan. Harrison Ford movies didn't explain his character well. They didn't explain that. There was some exposition in the film where they talk about the backstory. You might remember the U.S. Navy carrier captain talking to his executive officer. You might want to give that kid a break. He's spent a year in traction in the U.S. Naval Academy. You remember that? God rest that guy's soul, by the way. That actor's died. John. But I need a character like that. And I actually put John's name on the paper to say, when you think of this character, think of Jack Ryan, think of John Krasinski, because I think he's got the right age, the right sort of Boy Scout naivete kind of thing going on. So we need a character like that. And then I have another character. I don't want to tell you the names because the names are important giveaways because I'm basing it on some research and history and such. Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff got the eyes. Adam Schiff is the shifty Schiff. That guy's a bad guy, but he's definitely not Antichrist quality. You can see that guy's bad guyness like a mile away. There's no way he can get away with it. An Antichrist can like fool most of the people, right? So you got to have a guy who's more Gavin Newsom than Adam Schiff. Great line in this the Hunt for Red October. What was the great line in the Hunt for Red October? What was your favorite line in the Hunt for Red October? I love that film, by the way. I got the soundtrack on cassette tape of the Hunt for Red October. Is that good? Jack Nicholson, one of the greatest actors. Definitely on top 5, probably. I don't know. There is another character that's really key and important in this little short film of mine, and that's going to be the Antichrist right hand man. He is the chief. He is the chief priest hunter, by the way. And I know what I think of him. When I think of him, I think of Josh Brolin in Sicario. That's what I think of him. Josh Brolin, Sicario. Tell me I'm wrong. The Navy captain saying, "Give that guy a break." Oh, that's one of the great lines. Yeah. By the way, who watched the Final Reckoning Tom Cruise extravaganza 2-hour emotional goodbye film? Is it just me, or did they not rip off the whole getting Jack out to the sub scene from the Hunt for Red October? Like, they totally ripped that whole thing off. I mean, you might say they did an homage to it, but it was like blow for blow, the same exact scenario, only not with a CH-53 helicopter, but with an Osprey. And only that the sub didn't surface. The character jumps in the water and he's rescued by the Navy divers. But the same thing. Why do you avoid Tom Cruise? Is he not entertaining? Does he not entertain you, Elizabeth? He's at least entertaining. Sean Patrick Flannery and Nefarious. Now, you know what's interesting about Sean Patrick is he lives not far from me. Liar dude. He lives in Cypress, Texas. That's just down the road. And I was at the red carpet for Nefarious. I was the only Catholic media person at the red carpet experience, and I was invited by the director, Sean Patrick. Would Sean Patrick make an excellent Antichrist? That is fascinating to think about, because that actually might even be doable. I wonder if Sean Patrick would want to play the character. I could get him for a day. And I already have the location in mind because I filmed there before. Like, maybe get him for a day just to film that, just the concept of that with Sean Patrick from Nefarious. That's actually very, very interesting. It'd be creepy if I showed up to his house and knocked on his door, wouldn't it? You have read Nicholson has been blacklisted for being extremely pro-life. Is Nicholson pro-life? I didn't know that. He's not like a New York City liberal? I would have guessed that. I wouldn't have ever said he was pro-life. Is he pro-life? That's amazing if he is. Praise be to God. Just like Top Gun Maverick, it was Star Wars. Was Top Gun Maverick Star Wars? No. No way. Some of Tom Cruise's acting seems forced. Well, all acting is forced. Then sometimes he's a genius. I think he's generally pretty talented. He's pretty talented as an actor. Luca Brasi. That's the hitman in the Corleone Godfather. Luca Brasi. Didn't Luca Brasi end up swimming with the fishes though? Luca, you're saying, Doug, Luca Brasi could be my right-hand man guy. I see where you're going with that. That makes sense. Sean Patrick was great in the Boondock Saints. That was a wee bit cringe, though. Let's just be honest. From a Catholic perspective, weren't you just a wee bit cringed out by the whole turning a blind eye to mortal sin kind of a thing? I don't know. I used to like Boondock Saints. And then I'm like, as a Catholic, I'm like, I don't think I can like it anymore. Come on, Joe. Tennessee Girl says, they were blowing up the Death Star only in China. Oh, man. They did, okay, so the whole, I get where you're going. You're saying the trench run. It's what you're saying. You're like the trench run thing. I got it. The trench run. Sort of, kind of adjacent to Star Wars. Maybe. Jack is pro-life. Phoebe, that blows my mind. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, Robert. His mother was pregnant with him and chose to have him instead of having an abortion.
George Soros does make a great enemy and an antichrist, kinda, but it's kind of like Klaus. Remember Klaus from the World Economic Forum? Jawohl. Yeah. We are going to take over the world. It's going to be great. You're going to love it. Like, that's a little too on the nose. That's a little too James Bond for me. It needs to be more subtle. The other thing is I'm going to need George's money to pay for it all. And how would that look if I'm pitching George for funding the film and he's like, why is the bad guy George Soros? I'm like, well, I needed someone to use. And you're maybe his son. Maybe the son. Alex the Antichrist. I want to say there was a prophet recently who said the Antichrist would be called Alex and by another name. I don't know. You think George Soros would fund a biopic about the Antichrist? I'm wondering. And he happens to be Jewish, seems to fit a lot of puzzle pieces. Anyway, we blew the entire after show talking about film instead of Halloween. We're going to talk more about Halloween tomorrow with Father Rock from Ask a Priest Live. So come back tomorrow. God love you. God bless you. Thanks for being on.